Hey guys, Hooked of Blueprint here, and today I've got an awesome video for you. We've got Agent live on the voice call with me at the moment. We're going to have a look at a few of his replays from SCCWL, and he's going to talk to us about how he breaks down the bases, and this is all in the lead up to his masterclass coming this week, and you don't want to miss it. It's going to be all about planning on bases. Agent, welcome to the video.
Hey Hook, thanks for having me back on the channel.
So SCCWL, obviously, very important part of the Clash calendar for a lot of clans out there, and taking down all these really common style of bases that you'll see, it's not easy, but we're going to try and talk about planning on these bases today. So we'll start with this one here. What did you see when you were looking at this base?
Yeah, so these box styles are really common right now. You see a lot of them will have some expos or the monolith or a combination of them near the town hall. Then they have a pretty heavy core. Like in this space, you see the multi-infernos and the poison towers and the eagle, and then they kind of have this normal setup where you'll often see the scatter shots are on the adjacent side. So in the space with the royal champion and the queen at the 430 and 7, or sorry, 130 and 730 on the base. So this is a pretty common setup, and so a very good strategy for these bases that I look at first of all is the zap value around the town hall compartment. Usually defenders are setting up their expos especially to try to prevent the flame flinger from taking down the town hall. And so a really common strategy on these bases that I'm finding works well is the zap titan attack, which we used here. And so first things that you're looking at with this are what value you can get for the zaps. You want to try to take away a section of the long range defenses that are near the town hall, leaving only the shorter range defenses like the archer tower, cannon, wizard tower, and bomb tower, and allowing the flame flinger to take out the town hall. And the nice thing about the zap quake is that not only can it take out the expo, and in this case the monolith, but the earthquake also wakes up the town hall so that it can be attacked by the flame flinger, and the flame flinger can safely take it out from long range without taking all the nasty poison damage.
Yep, so exactly. I couldn't have put that better myself. One question I'll have, because I have seen the replay as well, which side do you pick? Because obviously one side you can zap something like this. I don't know if you can get that builder hut. Then the other side, can you get that expo?
Yep, yeah, so you can
Yeah.
get the expo. It is a little difficult to see, so it is 3 by 1 tile away is kind of the way that I think about it. If you look at the tile that is just to the right corner of the expo, and then you count up 3 tiles,
Yeah.
then it goes, and then that's the corner of the monolith. So that distance, if you drop it on the middle of the dots that Hook just drew, then that will hit both the monolith and the expo. So initially, a lot of players I think might think about the poison tower being taken down as the most important thing, and so you just immediately want to zap that side and enter in the 730 side. However, on this space, a couple other things that we note in the planning before just going in with the initial thought is looking at any other ways that this could affect the attack as far as which side you're coming in. So if we look at the clan castle placement on this base,
Yeah.
the clan castle range is set because it's a 3 by 3 building. It's a little bit closer to the top right section of the base, and
Yeah.
so it doesn't cover the scatter shot quite the 730 side. And so something that can often happen that I've learned from experience on this style of base that you need to look out for is if if there's a dead zone like there is on this base, which is a pretty common again on these box bases, if the clan castle doesn't come out in time, what can happen is your titans will actually leave, so they go into the 130 or 730 compartment, and they'll clear the compartment and they'll run away before the clan castle comes out, and that will actually
Oh.
leave the queen fighting the clan castle, and so she'll end up staying there, and the healers may stay on the queen, and the titans kind of run ahead. So on this space, I was able to take advantage of noticing the clan castle is a little bit more towards the top right, and so the titans are able to pull the clan castle, and everything can deal with it together, so that the titans don't have to choose whether they're going to stay on the queen or sorry, the healers don't have to decide whether they're going to stay on the queen or on the titans.
That's really smart. So just in case you guys didn't follow, so the CC, as you can tell, it's closer to the wall here, whereas this one, it extends beyond the scatter shot. So he wants to pull the CC so that he can keep his troops going through the base rather than they bounce in and bounce out. Is that what you're saying, Agent?
Correct.
Yeah. So the CC coming out helps him because it pulls his troops in towards the core. That's really smart. That's something I never thought I'd look at in the base. So because you see the CC on this upper side, you'd much rather leave the poison tower up and zap up here, yeah?
Yeah, so ordinarily it would be nice to take out the poison, and if I hadn't really thought about it, that's probably what I would have gone with. But because the poison, because of the other things that we talked about, it made more sense on this attack to leave the poison tower up and just deal with it at the end.
That's really smart. So we've kind of got the opener, we've got the zaps, we know which side we're coming in. Is there much else that you have to plan with the Zap Titans?
There's not a whole lot else. Usually you would want to make sure that the healers get a good switch from the warden, because generally with this attack you'll start it off by funneling with a warden walk. So in this case it'll be at the 12 o'clock area, making sure that there's not going to be a lot of damage on the warden.
Yep.
And so that was fortunately not an issue because we are zapping out the top expo so that there's nothing that's too long range that's stuck on the warden. And then also just making sure, deciding like where you're going to place your jump and whether or not even to use a jump, because on some bases you can get away without using one, but on this one, because of the dead zone, there's no place that you can wall break here. So the jump spell kind of opening up both the big 430 compartment all the way from the 3 to 6 o'clock side, as well as that core multi, to make sure that doesn't stay up and cause too much of an issue. And yeah, once that jump spell opens up the value, there's not too many more defenses in the core, so if anything was missed, the Royal Champion was held on to so that she could take out the rest of those defenses.
One last quick question before we go into the actual replay. Would you have this jump spell overlapping this wall here? Or would you say have it like this? Because I know a lot of people ask that.
Yeah, so when I'm thinking about this, because the jump spell doesn't access very much in the core, I prefer to have it opening up the big compartment on the 3 to 6 o'clock side. And the main reason is because the Titans are very, very bad against walls. And because that's too long for the jump spell to open up the eagle compartment, it's a tile too far. In my opinion, it made a lot more sense here to open up the next compartment, because if the Titans get stuck on walls, especially on these attacks with zaps where you don't have extra rage spells to help them beat through walls quicker, they can just end up taking forever to get through there, and you'll have time issues. And so in this attack, because I know that there's not too much left up in the core, like I mentioned, the Royal Champion can finish that multi and whatever else stays up in the core. And yeah, the time would be the main factor, so helping give more of the base as access to the Titans would help the attack overall.
Nice. Well, we can start the replay now and have a look at it. But yeah, you're right. There isn't much damage in the core, so generally you send the RC around the outside, but yeah, we'll see you put her actually on the inside of the base here, and she will clutch up. So you start with the Warden, and then you're looking for any traps with those barbs, yeah? For the Flame Flinger. Find the one Tesla.
Yep, and like I mentioned early on, this is a pretty common attack style, so defenders are definitely adapting to that, trying to set up, sometimes they'll have skeleton traps or Teslas near the edge of the base that are meant to grab the Flame Flinger and take it out, because the Tesla might not be triggered and the Flame Flinger will move into its range. But when you pre-trigger the Teslas and any other traps and they're dealt with early, the Flame Flinger can easily take out the Teslas and continue on its way.
Just going to pause it here. This is one of the things I love when you can properly plan your hit, unlike in Legends League. Look at what Agent's done here. We got rid of this building with balloons. I didn't see how this building went down, admittedly, but perfect funnel here for his Titans. There's nowhere they can go. They have to go in. This is what you should be doing when you've got time to plan your hit, right? Focus on funneling.
And one other thing that you also notice is there's one Titan that's not yet deployed, as well as an Ice Golem. You can keep playing the replay, but the value for having the difference between 4 and 5 Titans together is really not very much. So it's a lot better to send a second Titan with the King to make sure that he can push and cover the flank. And you'll also notice here, one of the Titans starts to go out, but then they come back. They're kind of being a little weird, but the Clan Castle does pull at a great spot where there's very little damage on the troops. The healers are keeping everything nice and healthy. And then that King and the other Titan are forming a pretty nice flank to clear the 3 to 6 o'clock side.
Unfortunately, we have to zoom out so far to see everything that's going on, but it's perfect. We got the king flanking, got the core push, and the flank is on the town hall. You can see why it's important to put the earthquake on the town hall. There's not really much to say here. It's just Titans are so hard to kill. I like how long you waited on your warden ability. Is that something you often do?
Yeah, so I think that's a good thing to point out on these attacks that have really high HP troops, specifically like the Titans or sometimes even the Super Bowlers. Um, the healers can heal them up back up to full health no matter how low they are, as long as they have enough time to do it. So a lot of times the best time to use the tome is when a troop like a Super Bowler or an Electro Titan is really low on health because it can get them all the way back up to full. So right when they're about to make a big push forward in the base, if you tome, then even if they go out of the warden's range, even if the healers take a little time to catch up, the tome will keep them alive and give the healers that time to make sure they're getting back up to full health.
Would you tome to keep your healers alive? Do you rate them that highly, or still focus your tome on your actual main troop, whether it be Titans or Super Bowlers?
I think those are the top two uses is either keeping the healers alive or keeping a Titan specifically from dying, because if a Titan's at full health and it goes down to 25% health, it's really not an issue as long as the healers bring it back up. So you should focus on the moment either when one of your high HP troops is about to die or when your healers are about to take a lot of damage. So if you're going through the core and there's a lot of red bombs like we saw in this attack, or you're under multi-target infernos or air defenses.
Okay, beautiful. Let's get into the second replay. Okay, so we've got the second base here. This is a ring base. This is something maybe a lot of you at home are more likely to run into, these really stacked cores. And when you've got a stacked core with two rage towers, there's one obvious option, isn't there, Agent?
Yeah, definitely. The Super Archer blimps can get a lot of value on these bases, and I think especially in the Clan War League, you see those more often because people tend to not update their bases. So this is a really important part of identifying bases is checking what those spell towers are on. Because if, for example, on this base, if those core spell towers were on poison instead of rage, it makes the Super Archer blimps a lot tougher. It's a lot harder to find a good angle to send them in. But when you have them set to rage, you can really take advantage of that. So that's where planning really can make a big difference in your attacks.
So you pretty quickly, I assume, identified you wanted to do the Super Archer blimp on this, yeah?
Hmm.
So where do we come from? That's the next question for a lot of people.
Yeah, so usually I think you want to either take out the monolith or the eagle side, and both of them can be good. But on this particular base, I like taking out the eagle first because the four expos were all on the same side as the eagle. And so if you look at the other side, it could work. But with the heroes also over there, that's another factor that you're usually thinking about with this attack. So the healers and the clan castle can really distract the super archers and sometimes lead to you not getting the value. If the heroes move and your super archers chase them, things like that, that can give you a lot of issues. So here, just looking at all the angles that we have available, and there's just about every angle is available because there are the rage towers. You prefer not to land on top of a bomb tower, but other than that, it's pretty open. And so I saw the 430 side looked like it was pretty open and pretty safe. Um, Using the Warden Tome just to be absolutely sure the blimp gets there. But um, yeah, I think the value there is pretty obvious. Being able to get the Eagle, 4 expos, 2 multi-target Infernos, and the Town Hall, and potentially the Monolith off of bounces. It really can be kind of 50-50 to whether the Super Archers pierce through the Town Hall and kill the Monolith in this setup.
Are sweepers ever a concern for your blimps?
Yeah, it really depends on how far you're trying to get with the blimp. On this base, the sweepers don't really affect any blimps because they pretty much only cover the core, and once your blimp is inside the core, that's when you're going to want to open it. So that can be a concern, but on this base, it's pretty safe from most angles, I would say.
Now, you said you're going to use the Warden Tome for this. Obviously, much safer doing that. When wouldn't you use your Warden Tome? Because I know, for instance, when Itsu was playing around a lot with this, he'd just try and refuse to use the Warden, and even if hypothetically his blimp landed here, he just clones to get the Super Archers inside the core of the base.
Yeah, so I think it definitely was an option to not go for the tome on this one, but just in the interest of being safer, because I know that I can get the value, and because it's a much simpler attack when you don't have to worry about using loons, or sometimes like if you were doing that, you might want to have rocket loons. They can get a lot deeper into the base, and because this is in Clan War League, I didn't have the option of unlocking the rocket loons. So those are also things that are factors. You definitely can go without using the tome, but again, when you're getting such good value, when you see these bases that have rage towers that aren't really defending the super archer blimp, a lot of times you can get enough value to where you actually don't need to try to be cheap, and you obviously don't want to have a 1 star when the rest of your clan is counting on
Oh yes, yeah. You don't want to be that guy. It's not worth
you.
it. Especially, yeah, as you said, when you're going to get this much value. Okay, so we got the Super Archer blimp. We know what we're doing with the start. How do you decide what you're going to do with the rest of the base? Because I know some people will definitely have different approaches that they want to go in. So what are you looking for?
Yeah, so looking at the what's left on the base, I think the two most common armies to finish off after a Super Archer blimp are either Lalo or the Electro Titans. And because if you look at what's being taken out with our blimp, what's left is going to be the Rage Tower and a couple of scatter shots, and potentially the Monolith, not certain. And so the Rage Tower and the scatter shot is generally a pretty scary combo against Lalo attacks. If you're able to save the Warden, you can deal with it a little bit better, but that Rage Scatter almost one shots balloons if it hits them, so that can make it pretty difficult. And so the approach that I took on this base was seeing that um, because the scatter shot does not, well, it's not like the multi-target Infernos. It doesn't have multiple beams, so it'll only hit one target. And so we went with a bunch of different troops like Golem, Electro Titans, Witches, and just tried to overwhelm it and not have any troops stacking up too much so that the value of the Rage Tower was limited.
No healers is the most obvious thing out of this army. So ground smash army with no healers. Is that because you just think there's just too much damage and you don't have a rage spell of your own for your healers?
Yep, yeah, that's definitely it. Normally, I think the healers are a good call, but on this particular base, if you look at the defenses that are left, the rage surrounding the monolith and the single inferno tower and the scatter shot and the warden, that's going to be a whole lot of damage going in there, assuming that we don't get the bounce off of the town hall for it with the super archers. There's going to be just so much damage that it's not going to be super helpful. The healers are really good when you're facing a base that's spread out, where you can kind of deal with each area at a time and not have any one area that's dealing too much damage.
Like the last
Giving your
base.
Yes, correct. So on this base, everything in that core is the most dangerous part of the base is a lot more concentrated, and so I felt that it would be better to um, skip the healers and just go again for the overwhelming style, where I kind of have a bunch of ground troops coming at it from slightly different angles so they can all kind of be tanking together. And it's okay if a couple of the Titans die. It's okay if the Golem dies. It's okay if a couple of any of the troops die, as long as we have enough of the rest surviving.
So a few questions. One, we see like the CC here, which is obviously a free CC pool. Are you trying to take advantage of that, or with the Titans, are you just not really worried about the CC that much?
Yeah, the Titans deal with pretty much every clan castle well, so it's not really something that we I would usually focus on too much with. Yeah, as long as you don't have it pulling at a really awkward time, any troops that are reinforcing like from 9 o'clock can deal with it under relatively low damage, and the Titans kill any skeletons from witches. They deal with a hound pretty quickly. Even the ice golems, they just slow them down, but they don't really hurt the Titans too much.
And this, you have five super wall breakers. This is probably the most you'll see in any comp. This is because you've got no jump spells, yeah, and you just want to send troops in from many different angles.
Yeah, so after you look at the big pink circle or oval that was taken out from the Super Archer blimp, looking at what's left, you kind of want to start at a section. So, for example, if you were looking to come in directly from 7:30, you wouldn't have the 6 o'clock side funneled.
Yep.
So, my first thought is to kind of break it into a ring. So, I've broken the ring at the 4:30, the bottom right section, and then want to come in at 6 o'clock with a wall breaker there. And then,
Yep.
in order to get to the core, it's going to take 3 wall breakers no matter what. And that fifth wall breaker is going to be from the 9 o'clock side to break in the flank so that the troops can kind of funnel around the top side and push the main group towards the core.
Yep. So 1, 2. I can count to 5. Funny fact. 3, 4, 5. And this is why you plan your hits, because I assume most of you all wouldn't take 5 super wall breakers by default. It seems like overkill, but gives us all the access we need through this base.
Yeah,
Is
and
there
that's
any?
one thing.
Sorry, you go.
Yes, I think that's something that you can see even on a base like this. If you just went in with maybe a more standard composition, you probably could triple, but there's a decent chance if you say you only brought 3 or 4 wall breakers because that's your normal composition when you use this army, so you get all that value, but you don't quite have enough wall breakers to get to the core, or you don't have the wall breaker in the 9 o'clock section to get the funneling troops in, and something like that goes wrong, and then all of a sudden you just have your troops circling the base, and maybe the monolith stays up, and you just have to watch your troops slowly die. So taking that extra time to plan out the little details really can pay off.
Any reason 6 o'clock instead of 3 o'clock for our entrance?
Being able to take out the queen and the higher DPS, like the rage tower, is a little bit more towards the bottom left, so I just wanted to deal with that sooner, as opposed to having the scatter shot on the back end be raged up and raining in on the troops.
Fair enough. Well, we've planned out our hit. Let's see how it goes. This base was the bane of a lot of people's existence at Town Hall 14. Good to see it's still alive at Town Hall 15. So you put down all your balloons, because no healers, so we may as well. Nice water.
Yep, so I used it nice and early. And this, again, we probably could have gone into a little bit more detail and tried to get more value, but tried to keep things nice and simple for the sake of this attack without doing like fancy rocket loon dives, just making sure to
Yeah.
get the blimp into the core and getting that value.
I noticed you split your clones up. I paused it half a second late, but you did one like this, and one like this from memory. Is there any
hmm
reason you split them up?
Just want to try to get the super archers spread out a bit and make sure that we don't miss, particularly the expos. There's not really a big chance. It's not a big deal on this specific base because everything's pretty compact in the core, but it's usually a good idea if you can to not have all of your troops on the same tile, just because any maybe random scatter shot hits or a giant bomb hits and then one mortar shot somehow gets off. If you can have the troops slightly split up, you get a better chance of them hitting different targets and taking out more of the base.
Beautiful. You actually cloned one balloon, I just noticed that. Not much you can do
Yeah.
about that. And then you just sit and watch with the Super Archer blimp. Wasn't even necessarily the best deployment ever, because we have lost a few, but you can see the work that they can do. If there's no poison tower, there's not much the base can do at Town Hall 15.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that people can take away if you're watching this is paying attention to what mode the spell towers are set on. You notice several times during the planning phase how I talked about that back end spell tower being on rage, how that affects what I use in the army, as well as the first spell tower, how that affected, since it wasn't a poison tower, it allowed the blimp to be pretty easy and get a lot of value. So paying attention to those little details really helps your attacks get to the next level.
Perfect wall breakers, and you can see what his agent's doing here, where he's right, he's not placing it all on the same tile. We're just slowly overwhelming the base, RCing the core with our queen. Was that by design, or is that just you were going to see where you needed her?
Yeah, so a couple more troops walked than I wanted to, so I was planning to kind of wait with the RC and decided to send her into the core. once I saw that a good number of the troops had walked around.
Unfortunately, the defensive king got invis when we had to protect our RC, so they head on to miss, but it doesn't really matter. Like, look at this. This army has so many hit points. You still got the king on the top side with at least one titan, if not two. It's just a good plan. And it's just the best way to take down double rage tower ring bases. I don't think there's really a better army for that at the moment.
Yep, yeah, I would definitely agree. Just keeping it simple, not doing it super complicated. Don't need to do a big queen charge when it's not necessary, especially against those rage towers. If you try to directly fight them, they oftentimes will be able to out DPS you, but when you can find the right strategy and adapt your army to the base, then it's pretty easy and there's lots of troops alive at the end.
Well, there you are, two great plans, and hopefully you could see how Agent broke down each base. That can help you. Obviously, you'll see more of it if you come to the masterclass this weekend, but two good plans, well executed. I think the plans weren't that difficult to execute. That's what I really liked about it. Nothing too mechanical about it. It was just all in the planning phase and then let the Titans do the work. Agent, thanks for coming on today. Is there anything you would like to say? Maybe, I don't know, last thing to get people to come this weekend?
Yeah, I really think, like you pointed out, the making the plan simple. You don't have to do crazy queen charges to get triples at Town Hall 15. You don't have to have 15 step plans. A lot of times it's just like maybe one opener and then the second phase of your attack, and you just send everything in and it can work. Just making sure you get those little details will turn a lot of those close fails into triples.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, thank you, Agent, for coming on today. If you guys want any information on the masterclass this weekend, it'll all be in the description below, or make sure you join the Blueprint. I nearly forgot. Blueprint. Make sure you join the Blueprint Discord server, and all the information will be there. Hopefully, we'll see you because it should be awesome. But that's it from myself and Agent. Hopefully, you all have a nice day, and maybe we'll see you soon.